Hey everyone, I'm Nodvora and welcome to Too Long Didn't Play, a series where we recap all the games you haven't had time to play or you just don't want to. In today's episode, we're covering Bethesda's 2008 masterpiece Fallout 3, which was released before the internet decided everyone had to hate Todd Howard and his gang of merry men. As with all Too Long Didn't Play recaps, to keep things interesting, we had a unique counter to each game, and today's counter is going to be called the I actually think this game's pretty good, please don't find where I live and stab me to death New Vegas fans counter, where we'll tally up all the moments where as an unbiased player, I can still see the good that was put into this game. So with that out the way, let's find out if war ever changes and hop straight into the capital wasteland. Welcome to Too Long Didn't Play. Our recap starts off with a pan out to some soothing music.
This little bitch isn't worth our time. Whatever you say, Butch. You're the boss. Sure. Tunnel snakes rule.
Fine, let's go.
Great.
As we see that this game is set in modern day Washington DC. Now if the green hue of the wasteland doesn't get your dick up in the morning, well I don't know what will. It definitely gets this Brotherhood of Steel soldiers up and about as he breaks the fourth wall and stares into the camera, which takes us to a title card and they remind us what game we're playing. So far the world looks like it's in disarray, so let's hope that war might change.
War never changes.
Oh, thanks for clearing that up, Ron. Ron Perlman narrates to us for a bit, and he catches us up on Fallout lore, explaining that the world has been destroyed by nuclear bombs in 2077, and that thousands of people were saved by heading into underground vaults. He sets up our story by explaining while most vaults had opened and their survivors emerged, one was sealed and had never been reopened. This is Vault 101, and once Ron Perlman has cashed in his monologue paycheck, we start the game. Our playthrough starts with a blinding bright light as we're a baby fresh from the womb when our father Liam Neeson lets us pick our gender. And I'm not even going to touch that one. We're going to be a boy this playthrough, and when asked to pick our name, still getting used to our Xbox controls on PC, so we accidentally nominate ourselves as player name. I can tell that's going to be awkward when Dad's friends ask him what his child's name is, and he has to lie about it. We then see into the future and pick how we're going to look, and confirm that when we're older, we're going to look like Val Kilmer. This changes what Liam Neeson, our father, looks like, and my god does it turn him into a monstrosity, which we'll see a bit later on. Things quickly turn to shit as we hear our mum go into cardiac arrest, as a nurse rolls us out and into 1 year later. We awaken once more as a baby and crawl towards our fish-looking father. As with any good parent, he abandons us in our playpen and leaves the room. We dick around for a bit with our toys before reading this special book, which lets us pick our base stats. Lucky our baby's first words must have been meta, as he loads his points into intelligence and we continue onwards. Now if I had a book like this when I was a baby, I would have loaded my points so I didn't have such a small dick. We try to brush up on the Bible when Liam Neeson rudely interrupts and starts reading it to us. He says something about the water of life, but I'm sure it's not that important, so we zone out until he asks us if we want to go hang out with our friend Amada. We follow our dad to Amada, which takes us into the white light, which teleports us to 9 years later. It's now our 10th birthday and we're getting a standing ovation from our friends. Our dad tells us how proud of us he is when this dickhead overseer of the vault interrupts him and tells us we've hit 10 years old, so now we have to start contributing to work around the vault. Oh man. He hands us a Pip-Boy, which is basically the game's in-game menu. The party's just started and this bloke's already ruined it. We speak to Amada, who's the overseer's daughter, who gives us our birthday present, which is a comic book. We explore around a bit, and this robot completely destroys our birthday cake, and now we know there's not going to be any dessert, we go speak to the resident bully of the vault, whose name is Wally Mack. We quickly find out Wally Mack's an asshole.
Oh right, you weren't invited to my party. Too bad, man. It was really fun.
So we decide to mingle a bit more and speak to this guy named Stanley, who after we lie to him about Wally Mack, he gives us a baseball cap. We put it on and check ourselves out, and holy shit is player name ugly, he looks like he's seconds away from phoning home. We continue to mingle and speak to this leather purse named Old Lady Palmer, who gives us a sweet roll. We attempt to be the Fonz, which doesn't work out, before being interrupted by the leader of the bully game named Butch. He demands we give him our sweet roll, which angers us, so we have a go at him because his mum's an alcoholic. This rightfully earns us a couple punches to the face from Butch. As any 10-year-old would do, we play the victim and gets the security guard and Amada on our side.
What's Butch's problem anyway? I can't believe he tried to start a fight at your own birthday party. What a jerk.
Because we seemingly can't be punished for anything at this stage, Liam Neeson comes up to us and says he and a man named Jonas have organised a special present for us in the reactor level of the vault. We blow the party off to go get it and are stopped in the hallway by a woman named Patrice. She seems nice enough and gives us a poem as a present, so we read it. Grey walls, impenetrable steel, suffocation, condemnation? Gee, a little dark, isn't it? To distract ourselves from that depressing poem, we stop reading and head downstairs where we meet Jonas. We wait a little bit for our dad to arrive, where we finally get the perfect gift for any 10-year-old boy. A gun. We go test it out and get our first taste of the dated and disgusting shooting mechanics of this game, where we shoot a few targets and some rad roaches. To celebrate our kill, our dad Liam Neeson comes over and we ask for a photo with him. Jonas takes a photo and the flash causes us to have an epileptic seizure, which fast forwards us 6 years forward. When we come to, our dad's pressing us about heading to school to take the GOAT exam, which will dictate our future. We try playing sick, but our dad explains to us he has a particular set of skills which he has acquired over a long career and tells us to get going. On the way to class, we come across Butch and the boys who go by the tunnel snakes, and we see they're sexually harassing Amada.
I can show you a real tunnel snake, Amada.
Because being kind might be the real punk rock, we talk a bit of shit to Butch and the gang and get bashed up for our troubles. Because violence is always the answer, we're able to hold them off long enough and get some good karma out of it. We also hear all of them speak and realise Wally Mack must have hit puberty when he was 5 years old with how deep his voice is in comparison to the rest of them.
Whatever you say, Butch. You're the boss. Sure. Tunnel snakes rule.
Fine, let's go.
Pumped up on adrenaline, we head into class and our teacher preps us for the test. We try to talk our way out of it, which somehow actually works, and the teacher of the year tells us he'll fudge our marks so we don't have to sit it. The GOAT test is a fun test which determines what skills in the game you can get a head start on. And as with all my Fallout playthroughs, I pick energy weapons and speech before dumping points into explosives. Because we got out of it, we go and mock the other students because they still have to sit the test and then leave the classroom where we skip to 3 years later. This time, Amada wakes us up in a panic and not reading the room, we decide to try our chances with her. It doesn't work and she explains to us our father has somehow left the vault and her father, the overseer, is after us as they think we're part of it. She tells us the vault guards have already killed Jonas and that we're next before dropping us a hint that we can escape the vault through a secret tunnel under the overseer's office. We say farewell to Amada and she gives us her father's 10mm pistol to help us escape. We tell her our plan is to kill her father with his own gun, and as Amada leaves we gather our supplies for our escape. Now that we're fully prepared, we begin our stealth exit and are immediately detected by Officer Kendall. We panic a bit, but it's all good because he's being attacked by some scripted rad roaches that I'm sure are going to kill him. That plan doesn't work as he easily dispatches of them and gives us some security brutality by smacking us with his baton. We decide we have no other choice, so we decide to shoot him in the head, where we get another look at just how gross our character is. We loot his corpse and immediately dress in his clothes in hopes we can make it out undetected. Beginning our second attempt at escaping, our next interruption comes in the form of Butch, who tells us his mum is trapped in her room with some rad roaches. He sucks up to us for a bit and asks for our help because he's too scared to save her himself. We use this as a teaching moment, and rather than save her for him, we give him a pep talk and a BB gun to do it himself. We fully expect him to die in this venture, so we get the best view in the house and see him storm in and actually do a pretty good job. With Butch and his mum saved, he comes to celebrate with us and we take all the credit, so he awards us with his Tunnel Snakes jacket. We've heard on the grapevine that Tunnel Snakes rule, so we put it on. Now that we're looking more badass, we continue our escape and come across Officer Gomez, who agrees to turn a blind eye to us and lets us continue on. In the next room, we see some more guards going mad with power as they kill a couple people, so we continue to try beeline to our exit. This NPC we never hear from again starts skirting us out behind some glass, so we go look for a way to enter his room to seek retribution, but fail at that. We continue on with our escape, and as we near the exit, we stumble across a room where Amada's getting interrogated by the Overseer and another officer. We interrupt them and speak with the Overseer for a bit.
I'll die before I see the safety of the vault compromised again.
That arranged can be, so we end up shooting him with his own gun before beating Wally Mack down with a baton. After the commotion's done, Amada returns and she absolutely hates the way we handled that, so we continue on our escape without her. On our way out, we end up finding Jonas's body and a holotape that was left to us by our father. Liam Neeson's soothing voice tells us that while he has escaped the vault, we should not follow him as it's dangerous. I gather from that he didn't think about the consequences of his actions, which would see the entire vault trying to kill us. We're all set for our escape, so we use the Overseer's terminal to access a hidden tunnel under his desk and we decide to head out. We make it to the vault door and use a control pad to open it. We find out Amada must have some teleporting abilities, as the room was empty when we did this, but now she's randomly standing right next to us. She decides to scold us one last time for killing her father and tries to make us feel bad for it. She tells us to leave before she calls the guards on us. In my headcanon, she was just delaying us with this speech because as soon as she's done talking, 2 guards rush in and try to murder us. Because this is our home turf, we take a stand and go head to head with them 2-on-1 before realising we're going to get our asses kicked, so we make a dash for the door. Amada also tries to make it a 3-on-1, and now we really have nothing left for us here, we leave the vault, but not before the game gives us a chance to change our stats. In this iconic moment, we leave the vault and get our first glimpse of the wasteland, which is going to be the first number on our counter. The life experience we gained from living our entire childhood in 30 minutes gives us the power to level up too. We dump a bunch of stats and immediately pick a perk, which will make this already easy game even easier in the long run. We start our quest. Are we done yet? Yep. We start our quest and are faced with the true challenge of Fallout 3, which is how to play the game without beelining it straight to Operation Anchorage DLC to unlock the winterized T-51B power armor, which makes the whole game a joke. We do that because we're purists here on the channel. It's probably a good time to make a disclaimer that while I am playing the Game of the Year edition, this video is only covering base Fallout 3, and we won't touch the DLCs. I also read tons of Reddit threads before this playthrough which said that the vanilla version of this game was absolutely unplayable without mods. However, we get to the end of this playthrough modless, so I'm going to add another point to the counter for that too. Heading back to our playthrough though, player name gets his first taste of the wasteland as he heads down the road to a town called Springvale. In the centre of town we come across a robot called Nightbot which we decide to destroy and see a large sign which is pointing us to the leader of the Decepticons. Before heading there though, we explore a bit first, and lucky we do as we find a safe which we can lockpick into, and we find it's loaded with sweet succulent drugs. Hopped up on the good stuff, we go check out Megaton, which leads us to this large scrap heap. As we approach it, we spot a two-headed cow out the front and speak to this guy named Crow. He introduces himself to us as a trader, so we sell a bunch of stuff to him to get a head start on this game's currency, which is bottle caps. We're obviously rich enough now as the doors to Megaton open, but before we go inside we decide to speak to a beggar out the front by the name of Mickey. He asks a very simple request of us, which is for some water, which we decline in the rudest way possible, and he surprisingly takes it pretty well.
I guess that's understandable. Gotta watch out for numero uno and all.
Before heading into the town, we see the deputy of Megaton who creeps us out a little bit, so we hesitantly explore around the city first. As we're searching around, I get attacked by my scrotum with teeth and legs and then decide to bat it off. Another mole rat tries to seek vengeance for its fallen brother, and then a couple rabid dogs join the party. This turns into an all-out goddamn war that results in me needing to beat a lot of animals to death while losing a shit ton of health. After dispatching all the wildlife in the area, we continue to explore and come across this hollowed out rock stash which I totally didn't know was there. Oh wow, it even comes with a sniper, lucky me. The sniper immediately breaks as we try to kill this mole rat, so we give up and head back into town. Once we enter Megaton, the town sheriff Lucas Sims approaches us. He seems like a pretty nice fella, and if he had hindsight about how this playthrough was going to go, he'd probably rethink his words.
I don't know why, but I like you, boy.
Sims isn't very helpful to us, and when we ask about our father, he tells us to ask around town. He also just throws out there that there's a giant active nuclear bomb in the middle of the city, and offers us 100 caps if we can disarm it. I know at this point beggars can't be choosers in the wasteland, but that sounds like an absolute shocking deal for me. So we try to negotiate him upwards, which fails. This gives us our first side quest, so we go to investigate the bomb. At this stage we don't want to risk blowing up the city or anything, so we leave it for now. Player name really is a nosy bastard, so he decides to explore around town for a bit and head into a nearby medical clinic. We meet this arsehole doctor who has awful bedside manner. We rummage around his clinic for a bit and find a holotape on his desk which we listen to. The holotape reveals to us that there may be an android in the capital wasteland who has escaped from the Commonwealth and is looking for a doctor to perform facial surgery on him so his captors can't find him. This gives us another side quest named the Replicated Man, but more on that later. We try to talk to the doc about it and he gives us absolutely nothing, so we steal a bit from his clinic and then leave to explore Megaton a bit more. Our next stop is this shop called Craterside Supply. As soon as we enter, this pirate named Billy Creel talks to us and says nothing interesting, so we fob him off and go speak to the owner of the store, Moira Brown. Moira is the most positive person we've met so far, and she tells us about this book she's working on, which will provide people in the wasteland survival tips, which will help them navigate the harshness of the waste. She asks us to help her, which we agree to do. This starts a Wasteland Survival Guide quest, which is one of those quests that acts as a great tutorial and a reason to explore the waste for anyone on their first playthrough. I know at this stage everyone's sick of this quest, but it's a great introduction to Fallout 3 for those who may not have played previously, and for that it's getting a point on our counter. We talk to Moira a bit further and she gives us a lead on our father's location, telling us Moriarty of Moriarty's Saloon may have seen our father if he did come into town. She also gives us our first Wasteland Survival Guide task, which is to explore a nearby supermarket for food and medical supplies. Because our priorities aren't right, this book currently sounds more appealing to us than finding our runaway father, so we head out of Megaton to make our way to the shop. It's quite a long walk, but we finally arrive and see a friendly wastelander who we get to say hi to. As we approach him though, we hear him scream as he's being brutally murdered by something. We go to investigate and holy shit, what the fuck? Is that a Deathclaw? I didn't realise this shop was set up in Quarry Junction.
I'm not ready for this.
We run away and then we see a bunch of raider bodies out the front of the Super Duper Mart, which I can only imagine were killed by the Deathclaw. As with all early game encounters in Fallout, we're severely underleveled, so we cheese this Deathclaw by hiding behind a gate where it can't reach us. But Mama says Deathclaws are so mad because they got all those teeth and no toothbrush. We don't get to hear if Colonel Sanders is wrong as we finally put it down. This game turns absolutely insane for pacing, as after we loot its body, this random kid named Brian Wilkes comes out of nowhere and tells us his hometown named Greyditch is being attacked by some monsters and asks for our help. If they're anything like the Deathclaws, this kid can forget about it, but we talk to him a little bit more and hear him out as he describes what's attacking the town. He also tells us his father is missing and asks us to find him. Because it sounds like this kid has an ant problem rather than a Deathclaw problem, we agree to help and get a quest called Those. We finally have a time to breathe and the chaos is all done, so we head into the Super Duper Mart to go find Moira's food and supplies. Of course this wasn't going to be easy because as we walk into the shop we see it's been overrun by a bunch of raiders. Although we have a poor track record for it, we try to sneak in, which doesn't go according to plan as usual, and we fail in stealth, so we have to beat this guy to death with our baseball bat. This gets us ambushed by another raider with a gun. We somehow take them all out through Vat's aiming abuse and finish the last of the raiders off by blowing his brains out. We search around for a bit and find this pharmacy key and loot ourselves a bit of ammo. We finally find the pharmacy door and use a key to let ourselves in, where we find the medical supplies for Moira. All we have to do now is find the food, which we think is going to be a cakewalk, until we hear that more raiders have entered the shop. We go back into war mode, but in an attempt to save ammo, we try to take these raiders out with some of the most flaccid grenade throws I've ever witnessed in a video game. Man's gonna put some oomph behind it. After using most of the grenades on one raider, we beeline it into a back room where we come across the food supplies in a fridge. We also find a laser pistol, which hopefully means we didn't waste our time dumping skill points into energy weapons. After looting around a bit more, we decide to finally leave the mart with our laser pistol in hand and head back to Moira. In the cold dark of night, we successfully find our way back to Megaton. But before entering, we speak to another trader called Crazy Wolfgang. Todd and the boys haven't gone rogue with their settlement and crafting system yet in Fallout 3, and because it's all useless in this game, we sell all our junk to Crazy Wolfgang. Once we're done with Wolfgang, we go check on the local beggar Mickey to give him some dirty water which we picked up from the Super Duper Mart, but we see he's dead. Mickey! Mickey! Showing the grief of death of our friend, Playname stiffens his upper lip up and heads back into Megaton because we're here to do a job, and we don't rattle. As we go to return to Moira, we see she's shut up shop for the night, so we decide to head to the Moriarty's saloon for a couple knockoff drinks. As with pubs in real life, as soon as we enter we see a man sitting in the corner wearing a fedora who waves us over. We speak to this guy named Mr. Burke, who has one of the most evil voices I've ever heard.
My. Just when I had all but given up hope.
Much like drunk conversations I'm sure you've had with your friends about starting a podcast or opening up a bar on a night out, this guy goes the next level up and asks if we want to detonate the bomb in the middle of town to destroy Megaton. This moral decision we have to make is so cartoonishly evil, other than if you're running an evil playthrough, it's really not hard to say no to this guy. In saying that though, Playname is also a cartoonishly evil person in this playthrough, and we like to keep our options open, so we agree for now to help Mr. Burke. He provides us with a fusion pulse charge, which he tells us to attach to the bomb, and then to meet him at a nearby location called Tenpenny Tower. We end that sociopathic conversation and go about our day as if it didn't happen and go talk to the bartender named Gob. In the Fallout universe, Gob is what they call a ghoul, which is someone who's so heavily radiated by the nuclear war they've mutated to look like Raiders owner Mark Davis. Gob gets regularly mistreated by his owner Moriarty for his looks, so we show him an ounce of kindness and he agrees to give us discounted rates at the bar for that. We ask him about our father and pass this unlikely skill check, so he tells us that Moriarty is keeping information about our dad on his computer out the back. This knowledge helps us level up and we pick a role-playing perk which gives us a unique dialogue choices for female characters throughout the game. We immediately get the opportunity to test this out as we speak to another employee at the bar named Nova. Using the perk, we get the password to Moriarty's terminal, and this conversation is very funny to me because it's supposed to be very secretive, which is hard to do when Moriarty is sitting right behind Nova and is clearly eavesdropping on us. We wrap up speaking to Nova after she makes some sexual advances towards us and go to hack into Moriarty's computer. This is an incredibly difficult task to do as he's sitting right there using the computer, so we talk to him instead. We try getting him to freely hand over information about our dad, but he does nothing for free, so instead he asks us to go collect a debt for him from a person who he likes to call a junkie bitch. We agree to do it as it's going to be hard to access the computer with him in the room, so we wrap up the conversation. I take back how difficult I thought that would be, because just as we say that, Moriarty stands up and literally pushes his way past me to leave the room. Because Moriarty's an arsehole, we decide to hack into his terminal and say fuck you to his errand, and I don't know why, but for some reason this gives us bad karma. We do a bit of digging through his computer and find out we may get more information about our dad if we head to a local radio station named Galaxy News Radio and talk to the presenter 3Dog. Now's probably a good time to introduce the radio channels in Fallout 3. You can actually listen to Galaxy News Radio during your playthrough, but because I don't know the YouTube copyright laws well, I just kept off it because I'm a coward and don't want to get copyright struck. The radio and 3Dog's broadcasts are all quite enjoyable to listen to for anyone doing a playthrough, and for that I'm adding a point to our counter. Now we've stopped playing Mr. Robot, we can leave Moriarty's saloon and make our way back to Craterside Supply to complete the first part of the Wasteland Survival Guide. We speak to Moira and hand over the supplies and she rewards us with a food sanitizer which improves the quality of food and drinks in this game. It's a great reward and it better be, as our next task is radiate ourselves to the point of near death so she can study us. As Playname has abandonment issues and is a chronic people pleaser, he agrees to do it and heads outside to continue on with the task. We figure the best way to radiate ourselves quickly is that large nuclear bomb sitting in the middle of town. We head to the centre of town and get the bright idea to start drinking the dirty bomb water, which seems to do the trick. After spamming the A button for a bit and staring at this guy's filthy feet, we finally become irradiated enough. Now that we have as much radiation poisoning as a Chernobyl worker, we pull ourselves and our extra limbs out of the bomb water and return to Moira. Luckily for us, she's actually helpful and once we speak to her, she heals us up and we get a perk that we'll never ever use. We agree to finish another chapter for Moira, and it's starting to sound like she's just trying to kill us at this point, as she asks us to go to a nearby ghost town called Minefield, run to the middle of the town for some reason, and then return. She tells us the purpose is to study landmines and their effects, and even asks us to bring her one back. We agree to do it for her, but because it sounds dangerous as fuck, we leave Crater Side Supply, get cold feet, and then immediately walk back inside and try to convince her that the landmine we already have in our inventory is one from the minefield. Because we're worse liars than Pinocchio, she sees right through the lie and tells us to go out and do it anyway. With our tail between our legs, we head outside and procrastinate killing ourselves, so we decide to explore around town for a bit. As we go around hassling civilians, we talk to this guy who looks like Mr. Beast and randomly accuse him of having a drug problem. Luckily we did, because he admits to it and decides to give us a key to his drug stash. After fixing his drug addiction, Mr. Beast tells us he's going to go lock 2 people in a room for an absurd amount of money. We then talk to another local resident called Jericho. We're not even talking to these people like human beings anymore, because we randomly tell him we could beat him in a fight and then ask him to travel the waste with us. Jericho declines our offer because he's an ex-raider and he will only join you as a companion if you have evil karma. At this point, he mocks us for being too nice, and I swear this is the first trigger for what this playthrough is about to spiral down into. After being shut down, we go downwind to the sewage water treatment plant, because that's where Mr. Beast stashed his drugs. Once we get there, we find his stash and steal all his drugs. We've got more drugs and Tiger Blood than Charlie Sheen at this point, so we're ready to leave Megaton and head towards the minefield. On the way out of town, we come across this well-dressed doctor named Doc Hoff. While it would probably be more fun to take them, we elect to sell all the drugs to him we just looted for a healthy amount of caps. Cashed up, we continue on our journey to the minefield and we stumble across this house which we decide to explore. We happen across this lady named Silver, who we quickly find out is who Moriarty was referring to as that junkie bitch who he wanted us to collect a debt from. We try to swindle her out of caps, which she refuses because our speech isn't high enough. But then we ask her again, and I guess we asked a bit kinder this time, so she gives us the money anyway. With 300 caps in pocket, we steal some of her stuff and head onwards to our death at the minefield, which we're definitely procrastinating at this point. This walk is a massive hike across the waste, and we come across numerous things like this dog fighting a robot. We decide to intervene because we don't know what's good for us, and we get crippled by this dog who somehow beat the robot in a fight. We hobble off like a dog with 2 dicks, and then we come across another settlement called Big Town and speak to this security guard named Dusty at the front. He explains to us his settlement has recently been having trouble with some nearby super mutants. Shortly before we arrived, a couple of settlers had been abducted by the mutants. This starts a quest called Big Trouble in Big Town, which I know is a reference to a movie I can't recall the name of. I think it was called The Little China That Had a Big Problem. That sounds about right. Before blindly agreeing to do that quest, we talk to a resident named Barry Allen. He lets us know that when Big Town isn't being attacked by super mutants, they're being attacked by slavers. I guess some towns really can't catch a break. Flash is too scared to go after the captured settlers himself, so we tell him we'll go find out where they're located at a nearby location called Germantown Police Station. We're tired from carrying this whole damn town on our shoulders, so we have a quick nap and then check out our map to see the police station is right next to the minefield. So we decide to leave Big Town to tick them both off our list. During our peaceful journey across this destroyed city, we end up getting snuck up on by this mole rat. We kill it, but the noise from that turns into a damn firefight from a nearby raider camp. The laser pistol we're using does absolutely fuck all most of the time, but randomly decides to show up for a change and completely disintegrate this raider before turning to its shit self. In case this wasn't bad enough, as we're trying to take on these raiders, we start getting lobbed from behind by some random ooze. We turned around and see this gross slimy thing called a centaur coming towards us. We use our explosive against it, and then we have to take care of another super mutant who followed his pet centaur into the fight. This fight really isn't interesting at all, as I tried to lay down some mines for the super mutant to step on, but he decided to stop walking right next to it. So we camp out and do a bit of looting before heading back out to take him down. After that absolute cluster is finished, we continue our journey, and because this game can't let me wander in goddamn peace, we get jumped by this pack of dogs, which we have to shotgun in the face. You're gonna be kidding me with this shit, because as that happens, we start getting lobbed at by another centaur. We don't have the patience or the resources for this shit, so we just run away from them. When all of a sudden, these fucking mole rats want to attack us. I swear there's an episode of Friends where Ross keeps saying he can't catch a break, but I couldn't find it in my research, so if there is, I feel like on this journey, I'm like Ross in that episode of Friends where he says he can't catch a break over and over again. And now before anyone says I'm misremembering it, and I'm probably thinking of when he says we were on a break, no, I thought of that, and I swear with this one he delivers it something like, I just can't catch a break. Let me know if that's a thing. Apologies for that tangent. We've arrived at the Germantown police station and we do this boring shootout with a super mutant. After finally finding the entrance to this building, we go inside and immediately get our legs blown off because we're on autopilot. We heal ourselves up and keep searching around and immediately get our legs blown off again trying to rob this safe. We make our way to the ground floor and get attacked by a super mutant brute. We're really starting to struggle at this point with our poor equipment, but eventually after using the power of looking at our wrists to stop getting shot at, we're able to take him out and loot from his body a jailer's key. As a hold of the key, we just keep randomly searching around this warren of a police station and eventually make our way into the basement and kill this jailer mutant, where we find our first captive named Shorty. We free him and he tells us we need to go save someone by the name of Red. The search continues again and we escort Shorty to this cell where we find Red. We try to shake her down for some caps, but she has nothing on her and we still agree to get them both out safely. Before heading out though, we decide to unlock another cell door to check on this skeleton, which levels us up to level 4. From this we pick the nerd perk, which should help us later down the line, because I'm sick of being on death's door every time I have to fight something. I didn't have many notes for this next section, so I don't think anything too eventful happened, but we end up travelling back through the police station and outside into the waste, where I successfully bring Shorty and Red back to Big Town. I feel like this is the only time I've ever completed this quest and they haven't been killed on the journey back. Once we arrive, we make sure to get paid twice for our efforts, and they definitely milk our kindness because we're told the mutants are planning another attack and they ask us to stay and help them defend from it. We agree to help, but randomly have to start walking around as the mutants take their time to get there. After a little bit, they still don't arrive, so we decide to get some sleep, which spawns in a gang of super mutants and the Battle of Big Town is on. I'm sure this isn't what the town had in mind when they asked me to fight, so I immediately let the super mutants breach their defense and watch on helplessly shooting them with my pea shooter of a shotgun as they beat the actual hero of this town, Dusty, to death. As if I wasn't performing bad enough, the same thing happens about 10 seconds later as we also let this super mutant crush Red with a sledgehammer before finding it within ourselves to take him down when it's our life on the line. I suppose just being one of the last ones to survive is good enough, so our effort of saving the town earns us 200 caps and a flirting session with this woman named Bittercup. To honour Red's memory, I go into her clinic and decide to steal her stash full of drugs. All's well that ends well. In an attempt to restore my karmic balance, we play doctor for a bit and somehow perform an operation on this guy to save his life. Once he comes to, we charge the guy 5 caps for some life-saving surgery in hopes this video inspires GPs around the world to stop fucking me over every time I go visit them. The worst part of this is, once they stop having sex with me, they still charge me the full amount. With Big Town saved, we lead them a hero and return to our journey to the minefield. In one of the most imposing sights during this playthrough, we turn around and see the super mutant on a mission sprinting towards us in darkness. We use a mine to trip him over though and then execute him. Unfortunately, he has a friend who's avenging him, so we have to fight him off, and he does a pretty good job trying to kill us, so we heal ourselves up a bit and turn ourselves into a drug addict. At this point, can we just get to the fucking minefield already? Nope, now we've found this goddamn scavenger. This guy could sell ISO and Eskimo, as he swindles us out of 50 caps for a Nuka-Cola Quantum, and this is after we pass the speech check. In my canon Fallout universe, Quantum is worth 10 times more than life-saving surgery now. After a long day of killing super mutants and exploring the waste, player name replenishes his electrolytes with a cool crisp Quantum. Nuka-Cola Quantum. Is it in you? We also come across this substation which holds the schematics to the railway rifle. I personally have never crafted a thing in Fallout 3, but I do appreciate the schematic system in this game before Todd Howard went absolutely mad and got a hard-on in Fallout 4, making everything customizable. For that I'm going to give Fallout 3 another point on our counter. After leaving the substation, we see it's daytime now, because that's how long it's taken to get to the minefield. We get off to a flying start by unsuccessfully attempting to disarm this mine and have our arms blown off before we move forward and get fucked by 2 more mines in quick succession. Fool me 3 times, shame on me, and we finally disarm a mine and collect it. I don't know why Moira wanted us to run to the centre of town and touch this playground, but we do it anyway, and all of a sudden we get sniped by Chris Kyle and lose all our progress. After death, we reload the game and head back to the minefield, where we use our super sight known as VATS to scope out the American sniper himself, and see that it's an old boat called Arkansas. You can stop typing your correction now, I know it's Arkansas. As much as we want to kill him, I back his aim in more than mine, so we sneak in, and this time covertly make it to the playground. Holy shit, he's peppering us again. We use the Halo multiplayer jump technique to make it out of the minefield and hide behind this rock with a slither of our life. It's time to get the hell out of Dodge, so we manipulate the game's enemy system, and once we're far enough away from that arsehole, we fast travel back to Megaton. I get it, you think that ruins the fun of the game? Well, who gives a shit? Whilst we're back in the safety of Megaton, we bother some more citizens and speak to this woman named Lucy West. She asks us to deliver a letter to her family in a town called Arafu, as she hasn't heard from them in a while. This leads us to get a quest called Blood Ties, and based on that title, I would suggest her family isn't going to be in the best of shape, but more on that later. On the way back to Moira, we end up talking to Jericho again, and this arsehole still won't join up with us, saying that we're still too nice. Oh, we'll show you. I think this is where I completely snapped and I decided this is going to be an evil playthrough. We go back to Moira and give her the landmine we collected. After telling her the story of how an old guy blew our brains out, she gives us a recipe to craft bottle cap mines, which I feel definitely wasn't worth it. Remember when everyone loved quoting the definition of insanity because Var said it in Far Cry 3? Well, we lean into that, and for some reason we agree to help Moira with another chapter of her book. This time it's to go beat the shit out of mole rats with a repellent stick that she gives us. For putting up with her nonsense, we level up again and get the perk that lets us get along with children better than Jimmy Savile. I don't know if you can say that nowadays, but let's move past it together. We leave Moira's shop and decide it's probably time to go help Brian Wilkes in the town of Greyditch, as we've kind of just forgotten about him after we sent him back to his creature-infested city. Firstly though, we can't stop thinking about Jericho's taunts and the fact that Moira keeps trying to send us to our death, so we play judge, jury and executioner and elect to rig the bomb to explode in the middle of town. I really thought by doing this it'd make the whole town hostile, but I guess I didn't see it, so we go to leave and suspiciously walk past the sheriff, who really isn't doing a good job at protecting his town. We leave Megaton, possibly for the last time, and head out towards Greyditch to fight these scary monsters off for Brian. We arrive in Greyditch and it really doesn't seem that bad, as this cute little ant slowly walks towards us. Holy fuck, it breathes fire! We stand perfectly still and take out another couple of ants before finding Brian hiding in this latrine. We tell him we'll go find his dad before we lock him back up and then decide to leave town. No, we're not that evil yet. We head back into town and fight another ant before heading into Brian's house. Takes all of about 2 steps and we find his dad dead in the living room and a key to a shack on his body. After heading upstairs and sleeping in the man's bed with absolutely no urgency for the kid we left in the latrine, we head back outside and investigate a locked shack in the middle of town. Searching around inside, we find that the shack belongs to a Dr. Lesko. We search his computer and figure out his experiments and what has led to the fire-breathing ants, and that the source of the issue is in a nearby location called Marigold Station. We have what we need, so we leave the shack and go break the bad news to Brian about his dad. To his credit, he actually takes it pretty well. Because it's not annoying, we agree to go to Marigold Station to stop the ants, so we head through town and arrive at the entry. In this dark, dreary station, we follow the ants one by one. Hurrah, hurrah. This ant burns me to a crisp. Hurrah, hurrah. We load back up and make our way through the tunnel to this door. Holy shit, why are you just standing there like that? We found Dr. Lesko, and I'm no bully, but this guy sounds like a nerd.
Dr. Weston Lesko's my name, and it's good to make your acquaintance.
To save you having to listen to this freak of a man, I'll just explain to you that he's been injecting ant eggs in hopes that he'll shrink them inside, but instead he's somehow given them fire-breathing powers. He tells us he can correct his mistake, but we need to get him access near the ant queen. He also lets us know if we kill the queen, we can stop it all, but his data would also be lost. He asks us to just kill the queen's guards and set up an inhibitor pulse at his research terminal so we can correct his mistake without losing all his data. We humour him a little bit and ask him about the reward for not destroying his life's work, and he tells us he'll give us his old lab coat. We think we can do one better than an old lab coat though, so once we stop talking to him, we kill him and take his new lab coat. Who's too nice now, Jericho? We still owe it to the kid though, so we head onwards to the Queen's hatchery to save Greyditch. After some of the most boring and cheesy gameplay, which you should be watching now, we make it to the Ant Queen. We sneak in and send the inhibitor pulse, which stops the ant invasion, or should I say the ant-vasion? No, I should not, cutting all the ants off from the queen. The queen ant's a huge bitch, and she will make a good trophy for our cabinet, so we go for an easy kill, immediately getting overpowered by her, so we run away, content knowing that while she might have won the battle, we've won the war. Running back through the tunnels, we end up finding our way back to Dr. Lesko's office. To honour him one last time, we hack into his computer that makes us lose karma for some reason, and then we steal his gun. That's the end of that chapter, so we head back into Greyditch and go report our success to Wilksy. He tries to guilt trip us into finding him a place to live. It works pretty well, so we tell him we'll help him out with that. We immediately get buyer's remorse though, so we renege on that deal and tell him we give up on that search and leave him to fend for himself in Greyditch. This completes the quest for us, and I don't have any audio footage of it, but my goodness does this piss off a certain radio host we might meet later. We're not phased though, because the most important thing to us is we got our XP. To keep our streak up of doing comically evil things for the sake of it, we suss out our quest log and decide to head to Tenpenny Tower to see how the bomb quest plays out. This journey is one of the longest ventures in this playthrough, and the only thing worth mentioning is us crashing this cow party, which pisses off this raider. Even that's pretty uneventful though, and because I'm a hoarder and hate using stimpaks early in Fallout, we leg it and choose not to fight. I don't know why I'm like this, but I find any time I play Fallout, especially early game, I like to collect lots of ammo and meds, but I refuse to ever use them. I think I've procrastinated enough time though, and would you look at that, I have. While you listening to me ramble, I just cut 10 minutes of my journey for you down to less than a minute, and now we can see Tenpenny Tower in the distance. You owe me one. On arrival, we see a different Mark Smith who's trying to get into the tower. The guard through the intercom won't let him in, and he calls him a zombie, which I guess is a cool equivalent of a certain word I'm definitely not allowed to say. After Roy gets to climb from the tower, we go to talk to him, but he's a bit of an arsehole and he acts like a real zombie. He walks away from us and we try our hand at getting in, and we cop a few racist school remarks from the guard ourselves. Unlike Roy though, we explain that we're associates of Mr. Burke and intend to murder a whole town, so we end up getting let in. Chief Gustavo doesn't give us the warmest welcome, but he gives us a bit of freedom to explore the tower. It takes all of one conversation for us to realise this place is filled with arseholes.
Those clothes are atrocious.
But we continue to humour ourselves and talk to this doctor who helps us progress our android questline by telling us about a doctor named Pinkerton who would have the right devices to perform the android face swap surgery. We're pointed in the direction of a town called Rivet City to track him down. After that chat's done, we talk to this boring old biddy who's also a ghoulis, and we realise we're kind of signing ourselves up at this point to get rid of Roy Phillips because we're advised to speak to Chief Gustavo about it. This whole section is usually what stops me continuing my evil playthrough, but as I said before, and as John Cusack's character in 1408 says, in the ending where he dies, not that filthy alternate ending where he ends up surviving.
We're here to do the job, and we don't rattle.
To find Mr. Burke, we head up the elevator to the top of Tenpenny Tower. This guard tells us we can find Burke on a balcony, so we head outside and speak to him.
The pulse charge is rigged. Excellent. Excellent!
Holy shit, calm down, man. This bloke has absolutely lost the plot and sounds like he's on the brink of jizzing his pants through the entire conversation, and I think we help him over the line because after we contemplate shooting him in the back of the head for a bit, we end up pressing the button and witness the destruction of Megaton before our eyes. Once that's done, we hear another voice behind us and turn around to see Alistair Tenpenny. Now he's really going to ruin a pair of pants, and I wonder, was he just going to sit there in silence the whole time if I didn't blow up the town? A hello would have been nice when I came out. At this point, Mr. Burke's basically having an orgasm.
My God. What transcendent beauty. What purifying light. Allow me to collect myself as...
But after he composes himself, he offers us a penthouse suite to Tenpenny Tower. It's actually a pretty good reward for murdering a whole town of people. And I guess what happens in the confines of the top floor balcony of Tenpenny Tower stays in the confines of the top floor balcony of Tenpenny Tower. After completing the quest, we speak to Tenpenny, who doubles down on the comically evilness of this quest by telling us the whole reason he wanted it blown up was because it was an eyesore. I think at this point it's best to just put this whole quest behind us so we level up and end up turning this into a real Fallout playthrough by taking the Bloody Mess perk. We've already committed the mass murder, so we may as well make the most of the reward at this point, and we go check out our apartment and meet our butler Godfrey. After having a nap in our bed, we go suss our view from the balcony before we head back inside and down the elevator to talk to Chief Gustavo. We're past the point of redemption now, so we lean into the evil playthrough here, and we agree to go take out Roy Phillips and his gang for 700 caps. We find out Roy is holed up nearby in Warrington Metro, so we head out of Tenpenny Tower to solve the problem when we find out the front guard is a massive fan of pink.
I'm not here for your entertainment.
We don't really want to mess with him tonight, so we head to Warrington Train Yard and into the tunnels. Once we're in there, we fight our way through a bunch of feral ghouls and finally happen upon this turtle-looking fella called Michael Masters. He's a terrible guard and he lets us go straight through to Roy. After totally not getting lost in the underground tunnel, we finally find Roy and his girlfriend and see them having a drink. We have a pleasant conversation with Roy and we get him on site and tell him we'll help him get into the tower with a bunch of feral ghouls to kill all of the Tenpenny Tower residents. If you complete this quest with Roy, you get a mask that makes all feral ghouls non-hostile to you. And while it's always a great item to have, we betray Roy's trust because we're a backstabbing dog and we end up killing him, Turtlehead Michael and his girlfriend Bessie. The Tenpenny send their regard. In a moment of karmic justice, I end up getting lost in these sewers for about 15 minutes of real-time gameplay before I finally found my way out. We finally see sweet daylight again, so we head back to Tenpenny Tower and into the lobby where we report to Chief Gustavo. As I'm looking at him, I realise if there was an app that made you look like a Fallout 3 character model, I feel like this is what mine would come out at. Seeing as we've got these guys on our good side now, we may as well make the most of their services, so we go see Dr. Banfield and get our drug addiction cured. Now we're done with Tenpenny Tower, we check out Pip-Boy to see what we can do next, and see that the Wasteland Survival Guide quest hasn't failed, even though we've destroyed Megaton. I find that pretty weird as there's no way anyone survived that blast, so we leave Tenpenny Tower and fast travel to Megaton, which is now called Megaton Ruins. As soon as we arrive, we're stopped by one of those medical muscle anatomy figures who has a chiseled jaw, and it turns out this is Moira, who somehow survived the blast of the nuclear bomb. I feel like Moira must have been the inspiration for Bethesda making every other character essential in all future games, as she's got more plot armor than the Winchester brothers. She tells us she's taking her Impala to Rivet City, but we'll stop by the History Museum first. As if nearly killing her wasn't enough, we lie to her about testing her repellent stick on Mole Raz, which helps us finish another book chapter for her. The next chapter she tells us about is about studying someone who was injured, so she asks us to get to low enough health so she can examine our injuries. She mentions we'll get a bonus point if we cripple ourselves during this. We unsuccessfully try to damage ourselves by jumping off a few rocks, as it turns out player name's legs are more sturdy than Arthur Morgan's. Lucky for us though, we run into this ant who's glitched into the ground and let him nip at us, causing enough injury to complete this chapter. As we're having our private time with the ants though, this random Enclave soldier feels like he's missing out, so he starts peppering us from a distance with his gun. I don't know how, but with all our shit gear we somehow take him out. Because I'm an idiot, I didn't realise by healing myself up during that fight, it caused my health to go back over the threshold, so I still go try complete this chapter by returning to Moira. She decides she wants to turn into Usain Bolt and sprints away from us, and we can't make any ground on her at all. Too much shit starts going down right now and it's overwhelming, as we run past these Brotherhood soldiers, then back past the Super Duper Mart, which somehow that guy we saw get killed by Deathclaw over on has resurrected like Jesus Christ and thanks us for saving his life. Can we run that tape back please? Yeah, we definitely had nothing to do with saving your life, man. This guy decides to reward us by giving us a map, which I feel like he should be giving to God for saving his life, but we take it anyway. And if there wasn't enough random shit going on at the moment, we end up getting stopped by a level up screen. It's too overwhelming, and because we got a laser rifle from that Enclave soldier, we decide to dump all our points into the energy weapon skill, and then take a perk that turns us into Superman. Moira ends up stopping for the Man of Steel, but as mentioned before, we're too healed up at this point to finish the chapter. Lucky you can't walk 5 meters in this game without something trying to kill you, so we bait this eyebot into taking some health from us, which allows us to return to Moira. After reporting our injuries to her, she heals us up and we take on another chapter where she tells us to go to a nest of Mirelurks. That sounds like an absolutely awful time, so we take the quest on with no intention of completing it at this point. It's at this moment I realised I was supposed to be doing a recap of the game for my YouTube channel, and while we don't explicitly cover only the main story here, I definitely was more distracted than the protagonist from Fallout 4 trying to find his son, so I elect to get back on track and head to Galaxy News Radio building to find Liam Neeson. To get there though, we have to go through these godforsaken metro stations. I believe these metro stations were added at the time to bypass technical limitations of the open world, but fuck me, these have always and will always suck in every Fallout 3 playthrough. I try to speedrun through them and end up getting myself in a bind when I'm ambushed by these two-legged and four-legged scrotums. This whole thing's a bunch of shit, so I try to kill some ghouls when this fucking super mutant comes out of nowhere and turns it into a real party. Now this is what happens when you try to rush through these sections of the game, so if you do play, just do it properly, it's going to be a much better time in the long run. We finally make it out and head through some ruins when we get ambushed by some more super mutants. Lucky for us, this is a scripted event and a few Brotherhood of Steel soldiers come out of nowhere and save us. We speak to their leader Sentinel Lyons, who gives us a bit of a spray. She tells us her troops are getting attacked by super mutants at the Galaxy News Radio building. She doesn't explicitly ask us to help, but we're heading that way anyway, so we decide to follow her and the team. After arriving, we try to ambush some super mutants and get into a large firefight. We come out on top and go to continue our search into the GNR building. Unfortunately, a guard won't let us in at this point until the perimeter is clear, which confuses me because I thought we killed all the enemies. All of a sudden we hear this loud noise and see this bus must have gone below 50 miles per hour as it blows up. Rather than be met with Keanu Reeves, this huge super mutant called a behemoth emerges and starts going to town on the Brotherhood soldiers. I never know why it does this, but we end up getting a quest marker to go pick up a missile launcher called the Fat Man from a nearby corpse, which we abide by. It turns out the Fat Man doesn't launch regular missiles, but mini nukes, and is named after the bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki in World War II. Now I don't know about you, but I feel like that's pretty culturally insensitive. The only way it would have been more culturally insensitive is if they had a character say to you, "Ooh, pick up the Fat Manaru," or something like that. You know, moving on from that. Now the behemoth is dead, we head into Galaxy News Radio building and make our way through the studio where we meet the radio host 3Dog. For someone who's supposed to be a comically good character, he's a comic arsehole, as he mentions to us that he has seen our dad and knows where he went, but he won't tell us until we do a quest for him. He wants us to get a satellite dish from the Museum of Technology and place it on the Washington Monument so we can broadcast his radio show outside of Washington DC to hopefully beat Joe Rogan's ratings. After speaking with 3Dog, we take a well-earned rest in his bed, and once we wake up, we end up stealing his big book of science, and then we head out. Doing this quest for Shitdog 3 shits? Maybe none of those work. Doing this quest for 3Dog sees us having to go back into the sewers. This bullshit sewer is filled with mutants, raiders, and this fucking room loaded with turrets that I had to cheese for a couple minutes to get past. After having more cheese in a pizza order and tell the guy on the phone to add extra cheese to it, we move forward. No one said my writing was going to be clever. We shoot our way through another room and a couple more tunnels when we find and kill this raider who drops us a combat shotgun. We pick it up and elect to give it a try. It's super effective. Before leaving the sewer, we decide to lockpick this ammo box and level up again. This time we pick the strongback perk so we can carry around some more shit we won't ever use. After leaving the sewer, we're in the heart of DC ruins, where of course we get ambushed by more super mutants. At this point we just say fuck that as we get peppered by bullets and seek refuge in the Museum of Technology, where unfortunately we get ambushed by more super mutants. I usually try to skip this quest during my playthroughs by passing a speech check with 3Dog because I remember the first time I ever played Fallout 3, I remember struggling a lot to get through the shooting gallery of mutants here. Although this time I realised it turns out past me had to get good because this quest is easy as shit as we walk through this empty model of a vault, find this door to lockpick which surprisingly leads us straight to the Virgo satellite dish we were looking for. We take the dish and walk directly past some enemies that have clearly just spawned in and make the quickest exit possible outside the museum. I really do remember this quest being like 5 times longer than that, but I'm not complaining, so to avoid getting killed I pop a stealth point and walk towards the Washington Monument. On arrival we realise this soldier must have predator heat vision or something because they see us even with our invisibility cloak on. We let ourselves into the monument and take the elevator up to the top, which gives me PTSD flashbacks to our pray through last episode. Go watch that by the way. Luckily there's no Typhon jump scare in this game, so we make it to the top where we do 3Dog's dirty work for him and boost his signal back to full strength. What goes up must come down, and after failing to jump off the building a few times we take the elevator back down to the ground. After leaving the monument we explore a bit and come across a museum of history, so we elect to go inside. We notice a fire's been lit, so we go further in and end up coming across a city of ghouls called Underworld. After searching around Underworld for a bit, we end up in a medical centre at the back called the Chop Shop. We look around and see the smooth skin named Riley, who's severely injured and unconscious lying in a bed at the back. We talk to the nurse and find out that Dr. Barrows is experimenting on Riley to try reverse human to ghoul transitions with not much luck. I don't know if this set actually goes anywhere, but if it does, can someone please let me know in the comments. We talk to Dr. Barrows and he tells us his patient is part of a combat group named Riley's Rangers and that she was attacked by super mutants and found in her current state. We ask to wake her up and this fails as Dr. Barrows explains to us if she wakes up prematurely she could die. For some reason we try this speech check again and he immediately caves and he decides to wake Riley up for us. Turns out waking her up won't kill her, as she's completely fine. We talk to her for a bit and she tells us that some steroided up super mutants ambushed her and her crew, and they're now stranded on the roof of a hotel nearby. We agree to help her crew, and that's obviously enough for Riley, as she goes back to sleep, as we're granted a quest called Riley's Rangers. Spoiler alert, this quest is shit, but more on that later. Actually no there isn't, because if Riley can't be bothered staying awake for us, we can't be bothered finishing her quest. After exploring Underworld a bit more, we come across Moira, who found herself a new home here which suits her new skin. She's still annoying as ever though, so we let her go and head to a local bar called the Ninth Circle. Oh, and on the way we speak with Christopher McDonald. Shooter. In the Ninth Circle we speak to a guy named Sharon, who's standing in the corner.
Talk to Azrakam.
He's a man of few words and tells us to go speak to the bartender. We do as he says, and we find out that the bartender, whose name I'm avoiding saying, holds Sharon's contract. We offer to buy Sharon, and the bartender tells us we can save the $2,000 cap price if we agree to kill a woman named Greta from a nearby shop. While at this point in our playthrough we're not opposed to murder, I'm all for buying people to serve me, so we end up purchasing Sharon and go let him know. Sharon asks us if he can go say goodbye to his previous owner, and then they have a heartfelt send-off.
Have you come to say goodbye?
Yes.
Man, am I glad I bought that guy. We now have our first companion, so we head out of the bar and go to a nearby store called Carol's. Whilst we're in there minding our own business, we cover a world of abuse from this guy named Mr. Crowley.
Is that so? Even if I call you a milk-sucking, mutant-loving, water-stealing son of a whore?
Because we sort of just take his insults, Crowley deems us worthy of a quest, so he tells us about 4 bigots in the wasteland he wants us to shoot in the head. One of these people is Tenpenny, and because we don't want to lose our nice apartment just yet, we put this quest on ice and decide to head back to the GNR building. After returning to Galaxy News Radio, we speak with Three Dog, and he tells the story of how he met our father. Which is as simple as our dad came across the station and luckily told Three Dicks about his water project and how he was on his way to meet Dr. Lee in Rivet City. At this point we realise we're very lucky our dad just loved walking around the waste telling everyone about his plan. On the way to Rivet City we get in a shootout with some super mutants in the DC ruins, and I don't know if it's just me or maybe I always play Fallout 3 wrong, but this made me very nervous because I feel like my companions have always died immediately in this game, so I try really hard to keep Sharon alive and somehow succeed in this. To get to Rivet City, we head into the sewers and try to find a gang of turtles, but instead we find this gang of raiders we have to kill before we make it out the other side. The sky at this point in this game is gloomy as shit and reminds me of that TV show Misfits. Luckily for us, the sewer takes us right to Rivet City, and outside the front we meet our old friend Crazy Wolfgang. After bartering with him for a bit, we head to the gates of Rivet City and pass another homeless man we sentence to death by declining him water. It turns out Rivet City is a settlement which has been set up in an old pre-war aircraft carrier, which I think is pretty cool, so I'm adding a point to the tally. Once the guards extend the bridge for us, we go enter, but first we get grilled by this android looking fella. We give him a sob story about our dad which softens him up so he lets us into the city. We also ask him about Dr. Pinkerton, that doctor we heard about from Tenpenny Tower, but Harkness tells us is long gone. As we enter the city, the first loading screen sees Sharon stare into our soul. As we try to avoid further eye contact with Sharon before it gets weird, we explore the ship a bit and come across a medical officer, where we overhear the dad from Step Brothers and this doctor talking about Android. We're curious, so we speak to Dr. Zimmer, who reads the scotch and cheesecake, and he tells us he's from the Institute and trying to track down an escaped android. I would explain a little bit more about the Institute if we all hadn't already played Fallout 4, so we'll move on for now. Apparently the missing android would have had a mind wipe and facial surgery, so the chances are the runaway wouldn't even remember he's a robot. Because we're willing to be bought, we agree to help Dr. Zimmer track down the android, and he tells us to speak with doctors around Rivet City as they might have some more information. He seems like a bit of a nutjob, so we ignore him for a bit and speak to Dr. Lee, who recognises us as James' son. She's a bit of an arrogant cow, and she explains to us that she'd been working with our father on Project Purity in an old lab nearby in the Jefferson Memorial. Apparently they worked on the project a long time ago, and that while she stopped, James hadn't played Dead Money yet and hadn't learned how to let go, so he continued on. It turns out Project Purity was a plan to build a facility in the Jefferson Memorial which would be able to supply the wasteland with water which was free from radiation.
And that's what I call high quality H2O.
That's all we need for now, so we leave Dr. Lee and steal her bobblehead and then set ourselves loose on Rivet City to try find the android. Our first interviewee in this whodunit is Dr. Preston, who mentions to us that Dr. Pinkerton broke the front of Rivet City. That's enough of a lead to make us curious about checking the outside of the city out. However, because I'm geographically illiterate and Rivet City is mapped out like a piece of shit, instead of ending up outside the city, we end up stumbling across this museum, where we decide to wake up this demented old Ham Washington. This guy doesn't know the meaning of sleep inertia, so he jumps right into giving us the quest to go steal the Declaration of Independence from the National Archives. We agree to go get it for him to get out of that conversation, but that history quest sounds very boring compared to this robot one, so we continue our quest to find the missing android. After more searching and getting lost in this absolute labyrinth, we finally make it out to the top of the city, or whatever this area on a boat's called. We're accosted by this woman named Victoria Watts, and after she hears us out, we're able to calm her down. She mentions she's part of the railroad, who once again I won't get into because we've all played Fallout 4, but to cut a long story short, she wants us to lie to Dr. Zimmer and tell him the android is dead. Now we could tell Zimmer the android is dead, but our curiosity gets the better of us and we explore around the front of Rivet City and find this very hard locked door which really piques our interest. While we don't have the lockpicking skill yet, we do have the knowledge of previous playthroughs, the sense of exploration, and find the secret underwater entrance. We make our way through this hidden section of the ship and nearly get blown to smithereens by this fire trap which we somehow survive. Then after gathering our composure, we continue onwards and find Dr. Pinkerton hiding out. This legend of Rivet City doesn't take much convincing, so he tells us the android is Harkness, that guard who was giving us shit when we first tried entering the city. He warns us not to tell Harkness his true identity as he won't remember, and then this absolute snitch of a man then gives us a reactivation code for Harkness just in case we want him to revert back to his android ways. I feel at this point we have way too much information we really shouldn't have, so our first port of call is to head to Rivet City Market and tell Harkness the truth. As expected, he reacts as most would if you walked up to them and told them they were a robot, so he tries to kick us out of the city. At this point, we're intent on ruining this guy's blissful ignorance, so we tell him the recall code, which brings back all the memories to him. It's like when House figures out what that lady in the bus's necklace is made of.
What's my necklace made of?
We tell Harkness his secret is safe with us if he wants to live as a human, and for that we're rewarded with a unique plasma rifle which makes all the energy weapon points I've dumped worth it. In saying that, we're also a no good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather, so we also head back to Dr. Zimmer and tell him who the android is. Our reward for being a dog is to become a cyborg, gets us a higher chance to hit in VATS, which pairs very nicely with our new plasma rifle. I can't imagine too many people around here will be happy with what we did, so we leave Rivet City and make our way to the Jefferson Memorial, where we can grab a pint and wait for this to all blow over. After arriving, we see the memorial has been taken over by super mutants, but don't worry about them, they're armless. Our search for Dad is going pretty poorly as we enter the rotunda and quickly figure out unless he's heavily mutated and has turned yellow, there's a good chance he's not here. While we don't find our dad, we do find some holotapes he left us, which thankfully points us in the direction of Vault 112. Turns out our dad went there to find a Dr. Braun who supposedly could help him with Project Purity. We leave the Jefferson Memorial and make our way west to try and locate the vault. Everyone's worst Fallout nightmare happens to us on this journey as we lose Sharon somewhere, most likely on the map geometry, and then start getting attacked by random creatures, and then to top it all off we get the dreaded pop-up message that Sharon has died. To honour Sharon and his murderous ways, we come across a small town and find this really nice woman named Sierra who runs a Nuka-Cola museum. She asks us to collect some Nuka-Cola Quantum and bring it back to her, which starts us a new quest. However, because I hate token collectible quests in Fallout games, like the damn Sunset Sarsaparilla Bottle Caps one, we kill Sierra, which immediately ends that quest we got. It's what Sharon would have wanted. He also would have wanted us to find the only other occupant of this town called Ronald and murder him too, taking his unique shotgun called the Kneecapper. That's our second full town of people we've murdered for no reason at all, and we continue our search pondering, are we the bad guy? God sends us the answer to that in the form of a Yao guy which sneaks up on us and kills us immediately. We try again, knowing the tricks of the wasteland, and nearly get jumped by the same fucking bear again, but this time we manage to kill him and his buddy. Time to get meta because I go to write that funny note down and then get jumped by another Yao guy. So with that lesson learned, I pause the game to write this sentence. Player name finally makes it to our destination, which is this location called Smith Casey's Garage, so we head inside. After killing some critters that call this place home, we activate the switch on the wall which unlocks an underground entrance. Following this path downstairs, we stumble across the entrance to Vault 112. We open it up and walk inside and we're met by this lovely robot concierge who tells us to take it off and get dressed in the Vault jumpsuit he's provided us. We do what he says because he asks so kindly, and then we blindly follow his instruction to get in a Tranquility Lounger, which we'll find further in this vault. Walking into this room, it feels like we're at the start of a damn Alien movie as we see a couple people lying in these lounges. Because this is a game and all logic is out the window, we jump in a lounger where a TV transports us into a Steamboat Willie looking world called Tranquility Lane. This whole quest is going to give us another number for our counter, now let's find out why. Everyone seems awful cheery here, especially this bloke named George.
Hey there, sport. Beautiful day, isn't it?
Using the third person camera, we see that we're a kid in this world, so we enjoy our youth and search around town. We initially try to talk to this dog who looks somewhat familiar, and then go speak to this creepy looking girl named Betty. Betty sort of seems like a bit of a psychopath as she gives us our first quest, which is to go make a kid cry. We're not against the old bully here and there, so we go find Timmy and tell him his parents are getting divorced. Because words will never hurt him, we think sticks and stones might break his bones, so we beat him to a pulp, which leads to our success. We return to Betty, who's not trying to hide it anymore, and she goes full psychotic as she starts talking like a German man.
You sure showed him, didn't you?
I suppose it wasn't the most cerebral way to deal with the situation, but it was definitely effective.
Here's the plot twist for you. It turns out Betty is Dr. Braun and he controls Tranquility Lane. To get out of Tranquility Lane and to find answers about our dad, we have to go along with his task, the next being to break up a marriage of a married couple called the Rockwells. Our first uninspired approach to make the Rockwells the not-so-Rockwells is to go right up to Janet and tell her husband is cheating on her. Of course this doesn't work and it just pisses her off. As we try to think of something more inspired, this old lady comes up to us, and unlike the rest of the occupants, she must have taken the red pill as she knows she's in a simulation. As we have a marriage to break up, we gaslight her and tell her to piss off. We head to the Rockwell's house and talk to Roger in the living room. He's too stable in his marriage, so we have to do a bit of snooping around. After searching their bedroom, we find Janet's diary and read that she's jealous of a woman named Martha.
Why did you say that name?
Who flirts with her husband. This gives us a bit of an idea, so we head to Martha's house and do a bit more digging. Talking to Martha doesn't give us too many clues, so we snoop around her house too and find some lacy underwear on her bed. We steal that after realising we can use it to our advantage, and we head back to the Rockwell's house and down into their basement. We leave the underwear we found on Roger's desk downstairs and go speak to Janet about it. For some reason, she just sort of believes us. This random kid that showed up in town has tried breaking up their marriage before, but once she sees the underwear, she flips out completely. We decided to have this marriage-ending argument in front of this random kid who showed up in town about an hour ago, and then they end up getting a divorce. Thank goodness for us, getting a divorce in Tranquility Lane is much easier than in real life, so we report back to Betty with our success. Braun's still feeling a bit mad with power, so instead of telling us where our dad is, he instructs us to go kill a woman named Mabel Henderson. The game is 2 steps ahead of me, as Braun says we aren't allowed to go punch her to death and we have to be creative with it. We head inside her house and have a look around, and because she's a woman in the 1950s, we assume the kitchen is the most likely place to set her up to die. We fiddle with the oven a bit and ask her to go bake us a pie, which she kindly agrees to do. For that low-hanging misogynistic joke I just made, karma came to bite me after that, and I lost all my footage for the next bit, which is the best part of the quest. As something a bit different, I'm just going to have to read you out my notes for the next part, and you're going to have to imagine it. As there's no footage and I'm being lazy, I'll read them exactly as they are written, typos and all. Here's some B-roll footage of me doing stand-up comedy while we get through it. Go back to Berry, and Betty Braun gives us one more task. We have to dress up as pint-sized slasher and kill everyone. We head to this doghouse and don the cape and go on a murder spree. Our first kill is Bill Foster. Why is this knife making everyone explode? Jesus Christ. We report back to Betty. She agrees to let us leave. Make Futurama Scary Door reference. Leave through Scary Door. We've made it out Tranquility Lane and we now have our footage back. And just in time too, as we've finally found our father. I know we didn't find out in this playthrough, but normally you find out he's the dog in the simulation. Our dad seriously means business, and rather than chat to his son, who he ran out on, he immediately says we need to return to Madison and Rivet City, so we can go find an item called a Gek and continue Project Purity. Our abandonment issues with our father help us level up, and we pick up a ridiculous perk that lets us level up twice. This gives us another perk and more points, which increases our VATS aim. We're juiced up now, so we follow our dad all the way back to Rivet City. And by follow our dad, I mean we wait till we get outside and fast travel there. Turns out while our dad is quick at running away from his parental responsibilities, he's actually slow as shit, so we have to wait 6 hours out the front of Rivet City before he arrives. We finally wait long enough and our waypoint shows us dad's now inside Rivet City. In my headcanon, this means he must have just seen us standing still out the front and walked past us as we act like a statue. We head inside to the medical lab and listen in on a conversation between Dr. Lee and our dad. He explains to Lee that apparently Dr. Braun confirmed that a thing called a Gek would make Project Purity work, and then for some reason he decided to turn him into a dog. I'm still a little foggy on those details. All it takes to get Dr. Lee on board is a riveting speech from Liam Neeson, so now we have our ragtag group who are going to get Project Purity back online. We speak to our dad for a bit, and as if we didn't just hear him, he tells us we need to locate a Gek again, which he says he can do from the Jefferson Memorial and says is going there now. Because running around with him really is slow, we tell him we'll just meet him there. Before going to the memorial, we head to Rivet City Market to buy some supplies and come across Dr. Zimmer leading Harkness out, presumably to return him to the Institute. My bad. To make ourselves feel better, we go and buy a shit ton of microfusion cells from this guy, which officially puts me out of the hoarding ammo mindset, thanks to Timu Theo Von. As we head out of Rivet City to meet up with our dad at Project Purity, I test if I'm at that point of every Fallout 3 playthrough where all your VAT shots become unmissable with 95% hit rate, but today is not that day. So we continue on and visit our man Carlos, who once again we sentence to death. We've now killed 2 people by declining them water, and the irony of us completing the Project Purity quests after that is not lost on us, but we continue on to the Jefferson Memorial anyway, where we meet up with Skinnyhead Dad and the rest of the medical staff. Due to a super mutant threat inside and the fact we're a video game protagonist, our Father of the Year tells us to head inside alone and clear them out. After heading inside, we take out a few mutants with our overpowered plasma rifle, and then stumble across what no child ever wants to hear, a holotape of his dad trying to get lucky with his mum.
Now, we really shouldn't.
We really should have just stayed in the vault after that. Now that we've cleared out the memorial and we can never look at our dad in the same way ever again, we go and tell him we've done the job. I know I mentioned it about 5 seconds ago, but I'm going to bring it up again that his skinny head looks absolutely ridiculous. We lead the slow moving team into the rotunda and patiently wait for them all to get into position where we can continue our quest. To wait this out, we turn to the bottle when Dad finally makes his way into the memorial rotunda where he provides us with some more Bible studies. It's just getting rude as this man still has no time for his son, so he immediately sends us again to complete some more errands, which we complete and return to him. It's finally time to have an awkward father-son conversation where we get lightly scolded for blowing up Megaton.
Thing like that never needs to be done. I can't begin to tell you how disappointed I am in you.
Our no-nonsense father hits us then with a "we'll talk about this later," and the workaholic sends us straight out to do some more tasks to assist Project Purity. You're going to have to trust me that this part is very boring, so we're just going to call this whole quest Task X. As Task X sucks the soul out of us, we get locked in this pipe and see the Enclave make their entrance into the storyline. That's not how you make an entrance, this is how you make an entrance.
Not interfere. Our intentions are peaceful. We are the Brotherhood of Steel.
The sight of heavily armoured men arriving is never a good sign, so we make our way back through the substation we were in to return to the rotunda. To get back, we have to fight our way through some Enclave soldiers who ineffectively approach us slowly with sledgehammers. After dealing with the Hammer Bros, we finally make it back to Project Purity, where we have to watch through a window our dad speaking with Colonel Auden from the Enclave. The Colonel wants Project Purity handed over to him, so our dad does his best at stalling, but eventually sees no other solution than to sabotage the Project Purity console. With this, he sacrifices his life and tells us to run, as we see him and Colonel Auden die? Yeah, let's just say they're both dead for now. Because our father's last words was to run, we speak to Dr. Lee, who is conveniently also outside the Chamber of Death, and we plan our escape with her. At this point, we're just destroying Enclave soldiers as we lead a bunch of survivors into an escape tunnel. For the stakes at hand at the moment, this guy named Gaza definitely isn't reading the room.
Hey there.
We lead the group through a tunnel and follow this Enclave Eyebot who's playing a marine hymn. However, as an Australian and a Port Adelaide fan, this tune is the theme song of our crosstown rivals, so we make sure to stomp that out pretty quickly. As the analytics tell me, most viewers on this channel are from the US, so this will mean nothing to you, so I'll put it in more palatable terms. Picture a Yankees fan and you're forced to hear the Boston Red Sox victory song. It's like that. We continue onwards and get mocked by another Enclave bot, and this traitorous dog of a robot leads us to a room filled with Enclave soldiers. This fight shows us why the combat of Fallout 3 isn't that fun to watch, as we spam VATs and Simpacks until everything in the room except us is dead. After killing everyone, we head back to our group of cowards, and I know they're not combat trained, but man, could one of them have thrown a punch or something? We're a bit bitter at this point, as we've had to use all our resources to save them all, so when we finally make it to the end of the tunnel, and are told by Dr. Lee we can't continue until we heal Gaza of his heart condition, we refuse to and convince her to leave him behind. After listening to Lee break the news to Gaza, we continue on. With one less liability on our tail, we kill a couple more ghouls and finally make it to safety as we come across a Brotherhood of Steel team in the tunnels. After a long journey, we arise from the ashes of the sewer like Bruce Wayne does in The Dark Knight Rises after healing from his broken back. Man, what a scene that was. Anyway, the sewers lead us to the Brotherhood of Steel's main base called the Citadel, where Dr. Lee curses someone out through the intercom so they let us in. So at this point we also see the massive laser rifle on her back, which would have been nice for her to use as we were getting our asses kicked in the sewers. We enter the Citadel and speak with a man named Elder Lyons. Elder Lyons does his best to appease Fallout fans who hate this version of the Brotherhood of Steel and how they're portrayed as the good guys in Fallout 3. However, his charisma level isn't high enough because his explanation on how they're basically outcasts from the Brotherhood of Steel in the West doesn't pass the speech check and still pisses off people to this day. He also tells us some guy named Gunny can train us to use power armor. I've played Fallout 3 a few times now before this, and I've never once spoken to any man named Gunny for training, as I usually learn power armor training from Operation Anchorage, so we have no idea where to find him. Luckily for us though, he's literally the first guy we walk up to, and he teaches us very quickly how to wear it. In this game, this training comes off a bit ridiculous as it just looks like a suit you put on. I like to imagine it's like putting on a wetsuit. Take that as you will. To continue our quest, we head inside and go speak to Scribe Rothschild, who's talking to Lion about this huge GI robot looking thing behind him. We interrupt the old timers as they won't ever shut up and get told to check out an old computer which gives us information on all the vaults in the capital Wasteland. We go check that out and see that Vault 87 likely has a Gek in it. After returning to Rothschild, because he has all the answers to all our questions, he shows us a map that tells us the location of Vault 87. He's a bit of a downer and he tells us we can't access the vault entrance as the radiation levels are too high. But after calling him a negative Nancy, he tells us of a potential alternate route through Lamplight Cavern, which may be a way to get in without lethal levels of radiation poisoning. We head out of the Citadel and begin our journey to Lamplight when we remember about the quest we got from Lucy West way back when named Blood Ties. Because it seems to be on the way, we set our course to stop in at Arafu. This deviation from the main quest bites us in the arse as we start getting attacked by the super mutant master with a goddamn missile launcher. Lucky for us though, he's not as tough without his gun. Holy shit, he's charging at us. Dispatching of that kamikaze mutant earns us another level up, which we use to boost our luck stat to 7. After a long journey, we arrive at Arafu and find some rotting Brahmin and then get attacked by another Yaogwai. I guess boosting our luck stat did nothing. After reducing the bear to a delicious green ooze, we enter the town of Arafu and we receive a Nellis Air Force Base welcome as we have artillery strikes shot at us. Instead of being greeted by a faction of boomers though, we're greeted by this boomer named Evan King. He tells us he's a bit trigger happy as the town has been getting attacked by a gang called the Family and suggests they killed the Brahmin we came across outside of town. Evan asks for our help as he needs to remain on watch, so he asks us if we can go check in on other residents in town to make sure they're okay. Everything is not okay though, as we check in on the West residents so we can deliver Lucy's letter and we find that her parents are dead. Inspecting their bodies suggests they were probably killed by vampires or something, I don't know at this point, so we go report what we found back to the king and he tells us that Ian West, Lucy's brother, went missing and he believes the family is involved as he had seen Ian talking with them previously. We get given the task of locating the family and Evan suggests a few places we could search. Up first, we decide to go to Seneca Station and we learn a very valuable lesson that our player can't fly and we end up falling to our death. We try again and we're much more cautious this time, so we make it to Seneca Station. Instead of the family though, we find this guy named Murphy who tells us he's in the drug making business and is working on a drug named Ultrajet. He tries sending us on a fetch quest to help him with that, but we ignore him and search around his office instead. Murphy doesn't have much to steal and he also has a bodyguard who's watching us like a hawk, so we decide to speak to him again and he tells us there's an underground passage to reach the family. This advice helps us find a hidden manhole which takes us deeper into Seneca Station. Whilst underground we find another Brahmin corpse, but instead of the family we find crab people. After dispatching of them we continue deeper into the station and start following a bunch of flaming barrels which seems like a good source of guidance. It works out in the end as we come across this guy named Robert who attempts to stop our progress, but we tell him we have a letter from Lucy West so he lets us into the family's hideout. We finally made it and we meet the leader of the family, Dave Franco. The youngest Franco brother reveals to us in a roundabout way that the family are vampires, but the good kind, like the Cullens, who don't go feasting on everything and everyone. He says that Ian is with them and they have taken him in after Ian lost control of his insatiable appetite for blood and killed his parents. We convince Dave to let us speak to Ian, and in another quest which is made very trivial by passing speech checks, we go and locate him in this locked room at the back of the station. Ian has one of the more punchable faces in the game, but we help him see the error of his ways by delivering Lucy's note to him. We convince Ian to leave the family and happen to leave out the part in the story where we killed his sister by way of nuclear blast. We return to Mr. Franco and inform him Ian is leaving the family, which he takes in his stride, and then we strike up a deal with him to stop eating Arafu's Brahmin, in return that the town will donate the family blood packs. I don't recall anyone on Arafu's side ever agreeing to this, but it was an option so we just rolled with it. With that sorted, we leave the station and return to Evan King and tell him about the deal we made with the family. Luckily he agrees, so we go to check on Ian to make sure he's made it back okay.
I knew you couldn't stay away.
What? I think I gave off the wrong impression to Ian. Moving on from that, we go to bed and wake up to see Ian sleeping next to us. I think we should all agree to never talk about that again, so we pick up the trail and head to Lamplight Cavern. On the way there, we come across this random location we decide to explore for a bit. Within it, we find a radiation suit which we decide to pick up as Rothschild warned us about Vault 87's high radiation. After a long journey, we finally make it to Little Lamplight and enter the cavern. We're blocked by entering by this foul-mouthed kid called McCready. Turns out Lamplight Caverns is now a town run by children called Little Lamplight. The town's rules stipulate once you turn 16, you have to leave and head to Big Town. Remember that town before that was overrun by super mutants? That's the place. Lucky for us though, even though we're overage, we have the Child at Heart perk, which lets us insult McCready's mum and he lets us in. Entering the city, we see this guy named Sticky who looks way older than 16, but is being exiled from Lamplight. We talk to him for a bit, but ultimately refuse to escort him to Big Town. Now if you play Fallout 3 for the first time after this, I don't recommend you get into Lamplight this way. The other way in is through a quest where you have to save a bunch of Lamplighters from slavers at a nearby location called Paradise Falls, and that whole location is one of my favourites from Fallout 3. I'll admit as I was writing the script I forgot about our counter to this point, so let's just add one to the tally for that quest. I also really didn't want to touch that quest on this run through as I'm committed to this evil playthrough and it definitely wouldn't have ended too well for the kids. If you can't see the children slaves, you can't feel bad about it, right? We talk to McCready again who tells us that Vault 87 is accessible through Lamplight through two ways. We either enter via a back door, or the more direct route through a passageway called Murder Pass that no one's allowed to enter. We pick Murder Pass and follow McCready who grants us access. That ends our Lamplight stint and we enter Murder Pass pretty confident it's just a name and it can't be that bad. Turns out it is that bad and we get swarmed by super mutants that we have to shoot our way through. The beauty of Murder Pass is whilst it's not fun at all, it does give you a lot of XP. After putting more murder into Murder Pass, we finally found our way into Vault 87. A little bit more killing helps us to level up where we're able to master our criticals. Once again, this area is just a shooting gallery for a bit, so let's skip to the part where we make our way to the test chambers and we get called over to a cell by friendly super mutant named Fawkes. Fawkes is his best at negotiating Hannibal Lecter style with some quid pro quo, where he says he knows where the Gek is, but it's in such a highly irradiated area, we need to free him so he can get it for us. We don't negotiate with terrorists, or in this case, people who aren't terrorists, so we accept his challenge he didn't give us and set out to do it ourselves. This gives us bad karma, and this is another thing that I've never done in any previous Fallout 3 playthrough before, because freeing Fawkes here makes this mission and the rest of the game super easy, and he becomes a companion who's basically invincible for the rest of the game. We continue on our own though, and as we search aimlessly for the Gek, we see this guy on a hamster wheel and refuse to free him too. After searching around for way too long, making me regret wanting to do this myself, we finally do find a sealed door, which once opened leads us to a room with a glowing green of instant radiation. To prepare for what's ahead, we put on our radiation suit and pop more Rad-X pills and Keith Richards and we head inside. Player name immediately feels the burn of radiation as we get blasted by it, which causes our search to become utter panic. Due to this panic, we miss a large tube in the middle of the room that holds the Gek, but luckily we have enough Radaway to regain our composure where we finally find it and retrieve what we were after. We're feeling pretty chuffed with ourselves now, so we decide we're going to go gloat to Fawkes about getting the Gek without him, when all of a sudden we get stunned by this grenade. Colonel Autumn, who I suppose didn't die earlier on, comes out and takes the Gek from us and we get captured by the Enclave. After falling unconscious, we finally come to and we're being interrogated by Colonel Autumn, who wants the code to the Project Purity Purifier. Say that 3 times fast. He seems like an honest guy and he promises us he'll let us go if we comply, so we spill our dad's life work to him. Turns out being a traitorous coward isn't rewarded in Fallout, so we earn our trophy, which is a bullet in the head. At this point we're Jesus Christ himself, so we resurrect and have to try again. Someone at Bethesda must have had a hard on for being a badass in a hostage situation, so this time we tell Colonel Autumn to go fuck himself. Our delayed tactics work and the President of the United States, President Eden, interrupts us by transmission and asks Colonel Autumn to meet him in his office. Once the Colonel has left, President Eden sets us free and returns all of our belongings back to us by way of this locker that must be a quantum folding chamber, as it somehow holds everything we had on us. Eden asks us to come see him, so we head out and immediately get stopped by this guard. We're eventually able to talk our way out of this, but I feel like President could have done more to prevent this awkward situation, as now everyone just feels uncomfortable. We awkwardly walk off from that and Eden does what he should have done at the start and broadcasts to the entire base not to attack us. Whilst we're exploring Raven Rock facility, Colonel Autumn begins transmitting to everyone, and I'm sure this is explained somewhere, but he outranks the President and tells all staff that they're allowed to kill us again. The joke's on the Enclave soldiers though, as they're mostly 1 to 2 shots at this stage in the game, and we can loot them for all their power armor. It's also a good source for XP, so we level up and then turn ourselves into a cannibal. After searching through this rabbit warren of a facility, we finally find our way to the control room and locate President Eden, who turns out is just this big robot screen. He explains to us the reason he wanted to see us is to give us an evil ending choice for the story, and he asks us to Bill Cosby the entire wasteland, and prior to activating Project Purity, to spike it with a modified FEV virus. By doing this, it'll ensure anyone with mutated DNA, like ghouls or super mutants, will be destroyed when they consume the water. Yep, just a good old-fashioned genocide. We agree to work with him, but in the most unearned speech skill of all time, we also talk him into destroying himself and the entire Enclave base somehow. I don't really know why he'd agree to do this, but he does, so we take the FEV virus for him and then head out to escape the Enclave base. Eden also told us that General Autumn has completely gone rogue at this point and is still trying to kill us. This isn't shocking at all, because we literally heard him transmit to the entire base to kill us. During our escape, we kill a few soldiers and decide to eat their succulent corpses. This whole escape leaves a very bad taste in my mouth, as the game kept bugging out to a point where I couldn't drop any of my items, so I had to fat crawl everywhere. So just know, I killed a bunch of bad guys and let Eden's automated defenses also do a lot of the work for me. Now we're bugless, we finally escape Raven Rock military base and watch as it blows up. We probably should have been at a safer distance as the debris nearly lands on our head, but lucky for us, the technology of this game makes it disappear before it kills us. We're free now from the Enclave, and I could be wrong, but I think Fawkes is supposed to show up here and you can recruit him as your companion, making the rest of the game a piece of piss. Because we didn't save him though, we're on our own. Enclave clearly have no consideration for player names legs, as they've set their secret base on the other side of the map, so we begin our long walk to the Citadel to report to Elder Lyons. This walk absolutely sucks, as we're hit with raiders, mutated creatures, and Enclave soldiers. Basically any enemy type in this game gets thrown at us right here. We do however see these friendly slavers who don't want to kill us, but because they're part of the Pit DLC, we don't touch that right now. After we walk 500 miles, and then we walk 500 more, we become the man who walked 1000 miles to see an ant and robot in an all-out war. We stumbled into a town named Canterbury Commons, where this bald guy explains to us that a woman going by the name the Antagonizer and a man going by the Mechanist have been fighting in the town. We get a quest here called the Superhuman Gambit and a task with stopping the fighting between the two. I understand at this point in the quest you're supposed to ask around town to learn about the heroes, but the antagonizer must have been licking her wounds after losing the fight in the middle of town because she's slow as shit in her escape and we decide to just follow her. It turns out her super secret lair is all of 20 meters outside town as we see her enter this door which leads us to the underground to the Canterbury tunnels. After exploring the tunnels and killing a few ants we find our way to the antagonizer's lair. We talk to her and use our Lady Killer perk to convince her to stop terrorizing the town. For that, she gives us her costume and we leave her alive in her lair and head to the Mechanist. When we entered town, we recall seeing him run out in the opposite direction after their first fight, so we follow his footsteps and once again, about 20 meters outside this town, we find this massive old building which is a run-down robot repair center. Once we enter, we kill one of his minions, then bypass the whole location as we're able to lockpick our way directly into his lair. Word must travel fast because as soon as we walk in, he's congratulating us on defeating the antagonizer. We can't convince this guy to stop with his delusions, so we just give up and give him the suit of the antagonizer. For that, he rewards us with a laser pistol called Protectron's Gaze. No, I didn't cut that out because I tried that 20 times and I couldn't say it right. After exploring a bit, we intend on killing the Mechanist with his own gun, however once he enters through this door, he completely disappears, so unfortunately he gets to live. After leaving the robot repair center, we return back to town and to our quest giver, where we collect our reward. Now say what you want about the side quests in Fallout 3, but I like them and I'm adding a point to our counter for all of them. I really don't know how this game is going to top stopping an endgame sized superhero battle, but we're ready to find out, so we head back to the Citadel. On arrival, we sort of awkwardly stumble into this mission briefing Sarah, Elder Lyons and Rothschild are having, who we decide to just stand there and listen in. After they're done, Elder Lion chooses to acknowledge us and Sleepy Joe rudely stands in between our conversation. In an arsehole of a move, we tell Elder Lions we've found the Gek, which excites him. We then immediately break the news to him that the Enclave have it after capturing us. I don't know why we decided to deliver the information to him in that way, but it really puts a pin through his balloon. Because the Enclave have the Gek, it upgrades the urgency of the matter, and Elder Lion agrees to send Sarah and her troops to Jefferson Memorial. Everyone in the room agrees we're up to the final mission, and before it begins, Sarah talks to us, and even though we've done nothing but evil things, we're promoted to her pride. Sarah gives us some power armor, and we gear up and we're ready to go. Now's probably a good time to mention that huge robot we saw before is called Liberty Prime, and it's also going to be backing us up. We listen in to Sarah giving us a motivational speech, and then watch Rothschild elevate Optimus Prime into action. Thinking this is going to be a really epic moment, we decide to watch, but it just turns awkward as he gets slowly elevated to the surface. Lucky for us, the awkward silence is broken up by a level up where we're able to turn ourselves into Wolverine. The final stage is now set for what is by far the worst mission in the game, as you just follow behind Bumblebee who destroys the Enclave for you all the way to Jefferson Memorial. We head outside the Citadel and we literally do nothing but walk slowly behind this giant robot. At one stage we did try to get involved by killing a soldier with a Mechanist gun, which I refuse to say the name of, but he just laughs it off, so we walk away ashamed and see the Autobot launch mini nukes at the Enclave like Tom Brady. We finally get to the memorial and fight our way through the rotunda with a much more capable gun than the Mechanist. While we're there, we stop fighting for a second to eat this dead soldier. With our bellies full, we enter the rotunda and meet Colonel Autumn, who talks a lot of shit for a man who gets one shot in the head by us immediately. Our quest isn't done yet though, because as we go to celebrate with Sarah, we hear Party Pooper Dr. Lee on the intercom. She tells us that Project Purity is too damaged and leaking radiation, and the only way to stop it is to activate the project, but whoever does so will die of radiation. As the hero Gotham deserves, and also the one it needs right now, we decide we'll sacrifice ourselves and do it. Sarah gives us a hero's goodbye, which I'm sure she regrets, because for no other reason than just being an arsehole, we follow through with Eden's plan and Cosby the Wasteland by spiking Project Purity with the virus. It's good news for us though, as we activate Project Purity, we fall to our death so we don't have to live with the consequences of our action. What a time for Ron Perlman to return as he narrates the ending of the game and shit talks all our decision making for a solid couple of minutes. Unfortunately for player name though, we're playing the Game of the Year edition and somehow 2 weeks later the Brotherhood is able to revive us. This is sort of awkward because we were kind of hoping we would just, die and not have to live with the consequences of the awful wasteland we left for everyone. We casually talk to Elder Lyons and try not to mention that we attempted genocide, and I think it works and goes unnoticed because he promotes us to Brotherhood Knight, which is absolutely absurd, and obviously he doesn't have a moral compass. He asks for our help one last time, but that sounds an awful lot like Broken Steel DLC to me, so as our first act of a Knight of the Brotherhood, we decline him. I think the biggest shock at this point here is that I'm only level 16, and it's the only time I haven't finished the main story of Fallout 3 feeling like an absolute level 30 god. If you play any of the DLCs or do most of the side quests, you should easily hit the max level in this game, and it will turn it all into a cakewalk. After disappointing lines in the Brotherhood, we head out of the Citadel and try some of the new drink Project Purity created called Aqua Pura. After testing it out, we learn if we drink too much of it, it'll kill us due to the FEV virus within it, which I'm sure is going to leave Liam Neeson rolling in his grave. At this point, I know we have a lot of loose ends to tie up, but that may be for a future video, but I will leave you all with the ending of the Wasteland Survival Guide quest. Well, we end up tracking down Moira and then murdering her in cold blood for subjecting us to so much shit. With that, we leave Underworld, and that ends the story of player name, the Arsehole of the Waste, as he walks off into the DC ruins. Oh yeah, he also stumbles across a UFO and gets abducted by aliens. Thank you all so much for watching our Too Long Didn't Play recap of Fallout 3. I know we missed a bit in this playthrough, like some of the DLC and a lot of the side quests. I'm talking the one with the tree man. I'm talking the one you return to the vault. I'm talking the one with Riley's Rangers. Actually, I'm glad we missed that one. There is a few more good ones as well, like the one with the slavers, but we may cover that in a future video if there's an appetite for it. As we look to our final counter, we see that Fallout 3 does have a lot to offer, and who's to say which Fallout game is the best? It's New Vegas. New Vegas is better. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel for more Too Long Didn't Play recaps, with our next one being Cuphead. We also have a bonus tier list video coming out, which is Fallout based, so keep an eye out for that. Until then though, thank you for watching. I've been Nodvoro, this has been Too Long Didn't Play, and you've been great.